Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about how to manifest through symbolic imaginal scenes or metaphorical imaginal scenes. Whether that means you want to make yourself richer or smarter or more in love or more attractive, whatever it is, you can do that through using this symbolic approach to manifesting what you want. This metaphorical approach to manifesting what you want. And I think you'll find this is very simple and very useful. Before we begin, please hit the like button. It will help people to find this video who wouldn't normally be able to. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoy and would like more systematic, broken down techniques and fundamentals of how to manifest what you want in a time-tested, systematic, usable, predictable way. Hit the bell icon just to stay informed, and every single Friday at 2 p.m. PST there will be a new video released. So let's go into it then. Metaphorical or symbolical visualizations. What does that even mean? So I think I just said symbolical, but what I meant was symbolic visualizations. So again, what does that mean? A symbolic imaginal act is some sort of metaphorical image that represents something else other than the actual object. And I know that sounds really abstract or weird. I'll give you an example, I promise. But the point is that it oftentimes goes against a lot of what we know about manifesting, such as that we have to be as accurate as possible, as lifelike as humanly possible in order to manifest our desires when we imagine it. But what I'm talking about here is imagining something like imagining you're under a waterfall and every droplet of water hits you is making you more and more powerful. So, in other words, it's the actual act of visualizing this thing, right? You're adding the meaning to the experience itself. Now, that's not far away from manifesting at all, because in our subconscious, we have triggers, assumptions, and expectations that are executing all the time. And I'll give you an example of that. For those of you, right, if you're one of the people, rather, that have issues with relationships, right? I'll talk about myself. I used to have crazy problems with relationships, terrible problems. What would happen is in my daily life, everything would be going perfectly fine. I would be happy, peaceful, successful, have a lot of friends, all of that, cool, happy, standard lifestyle. But what would happen is the moment I would get into a relationship, things would change. My world would collapse. I suddenly fixate entirely on this person, then they begin to change and pull away from me. A lot of this was really stemming from childhood, but nevertheless, this being or getting into a relationship triggers something in the subconscious mind, which ultimately leads me or led me down a path to a place I didn't want to go. And it happened every time for years, over a decade. A lot of people this happens to with money. They suffer and are poor or broke or struggling. They finally get a large sum of money and they're really happy, but as soon as they get it, they either lose it all, they have to spend it on some bill, or they themselves just blow all the money, get rid of it, spend it all, give it all away. And then afterward, beating themselves up, thinking, I shouldn't have done that. How did I do that? How did I wind up back exactly where I was? This happens a lot with people who drink a lot or do drugs. They'll get clean, they do well. They before were just a disaster, on the verge of death and despair, losing everything, keeping on getting in trouble over and over. Finally, after hell, they get sober. They stay sober for quite some time. And then eventually, boom, they go right back to it. They make the choice at this point to go back to it. Why? Why does that happen? It happens because of our subconscious triggers. So what we do then is create, and the topic of this video is to create new subconscious triggers, and there are a variety of them which I will go over. We're creating these triggers in order to help us in our life. We can create any trigger that we want. It does not need to be an inadvertent, random, negative trigger, like we get into a relationship, or every time, I don't know, I walk through this person's house, I stub my toe, or something, whatever, something like that. It could be something to the effect of, every time I get an email, I get a great idea. This is literally what I did. And every time, even to the point to which I wouldn't know my emails were coming, my phone would be in the other room, or I wouldn't be on the computer, and I would just have a flood of good ideas. But then ultimately, when I would go to my phone, I would see email. They would perfectly line up every single time. You can obviously do more concrete things, such as I receive money every time I take a step, or every breath I take, I become more successful, or each and every day, I grow more successful than the last. It's whatever you want to create, it's your job to define the desire itself, what the implementation of that is, such as, I want success, so I'm going to manifest that each and every day I get more successful. Or, every time I drink a sip of water, I receive $100. Now, the interesting thing about a situation like that is $100 isn't going to appear out of thin air. But something is going to have to happen, and it may not happen at the exact time that you do this, but your manifestations must be fulfilled in the same exact way as every time you got that money, or every time you were in that relationship, or every time you lost that 10 pounds, or you went to the gym for that many days in a row, or whatever it is. Every time you did this or that, or read a book for whatever, this many times in a row, something inevitably happened. And this could be a good thing or a bad thing. But nevertheless, something happens that ends up changing the path. So I'll give you specific instructions. The first technique is to define exactly what we're saying. So choose something that you want, and then choose how you're going to get it. Now, you can use any trigger at all. Some triggers are every time my phone rings, or every time I get a text message, or every time I walk through a door, or every time someone with a yellow shirt walks past me. Or you could even, this is how crazy manifesting is you could even say every time someone thinks of me. Now, you wouldn't specifically know or become aware directly that moment when someone thought of you, unless that was what you imagined, such as every time someone thinks of me, I have a sense, right? You could do that as well, right? Manifestation connects everyone together through the subconscious mind with the outlet or the plug being awareness or God. So being that God is all power, all wisdom, all might, all intelligence, seeing the future, all that stuff, you can do whatever you want. You want to know things that you wouldn't normally know? Go ahead. You want to make it so that every YouTube video you release, someone emails you telling you that they received a manifestation or a miracle. That's something that I've done as well, something that I continue to do. Every time someone who needs help walks past me, they get the help they need. That's another thing that I do. You set up your reality so that you are living it how you want it to live, or how you want to live it. Do this consistently, and what you would do after you choose this is you would imagine it. So whether that means and there are certain things that you can do, right? Oftentimes with something like this, I will not visualize it. But what you would do instead, or normally what I do instead that makes it much simpler, and I've created a lot of information on this on my channel and on my workshops and stuff like that, but I would use an inner conversation, or I would use the list method, or I would use scripting from the future, or a journaling from the future. The reason I would do this is because words are extremely accurate. So you don't lose anything in translating this thing that you want into words. In fact, if I asked you what did you want to experience, most of the time you're really just brainstorming and you say it in words and you think of it in words regardless. So that's really an indication right there that using words is going to be your best bet. The next step is really just choosing the exact technique that you want. Do you want to do an inner conversation, right? The goal here now, remember, is to impress this in our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is non-selective, accepts what you say as absolutely true and final, doesn't know the difference between what you're imagining, what the laws of physics are, what is common in day-to-day life, right? In fact, your world is being shaped by triggers everywhere. People are nice to me. People are mean to me when I go into this store. I always get free things when I go here. You know, when I create a video on this day, I get this many viewers. All these things, although they appear to be solid facts, are only existing as they are because they're triggers in my mind. They're assumptions in my mind. So it is absolutely possible and doable, and you should be using these triggers, these symbolic triggers, to get what you want. You imagine that, say it in a conversation, saying, yes, every time I walk through a door, I get a subscriber. Or every time I get a text message, I have a great idea. Every time I start something new, a million good things happen to me. Whatever you want, you do this to enhance your life. And then you have someone reiterate back to you, so you can do it vice versa. They can tell you, which I often find is actually more effective. And them targeting and finding the pattern, like, dude, every time you get a text message, you get a payment from somewhere else. Someone pays you. It's amazing. Every time I've watched it happen over and over again. And then me reiterating back saying, I know it's crazy. Every time I get a text message, I also get a payment from a random person. And then them one last time saying, I know and just reiterating it to you. And then you imagine it over and over until it saturates your mind, and then you let it go. And then you'll notice automatically, because everything that you manifest must be presented back into your consciousness. It must be presented back to the Creator. So you won't miss it. Don't worry. And you may have to sharpen things sometimes. You may also be able to identify, right? Oh man, every time I do this, this bad thing happens. Let me fix that. This is the point. Use this and watch how amazing and crazy this is. So the second aspect of, metaphorical creation or symbolic imagining is in the imaginal act. Imagine something is happening to you, something is happening, changing inside of you with some other action. So it's during the imaginal act itself rather than in reality. So in reality, every time I walk through the door, I get this thing. But in the imaginal act, it's when I drink the cup of water. It's not water, it's actually some formula that lets me manifest faster. Or when I write a piece of paper and put it in this box in my imagination, it automatically is impressed in my subconscious mind every time. Or whenever in the imaginal act I walk through said door, something else happens. You get creative with it, or when this beam of light shines upon me, it heals me from being sick. In the end, your subconscious doesn't know the difference, nor does it care what you're experiencing is imaginal or real. It will give you what you want. So begin to be creative, regardless of what it is, and you will get it. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more systematic, broken down manifestation techniques and fundamentals. Hit the bell icon if you want to stay tuned for the notification of my video releases and schedules and premieres every Friday at 2 p.m. PST. And thank you so much for watching.